जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिमित्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं निरतारणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरं हरि ओं तत्सत्। अपादमौलिपर्यन्तमाचरिं गुरुणास्मरेतेन विघ्नं प्रणश्यन्ति सिद्ध्यन्ति च मनोरथाः। श्रीजयप्रताप स्वामिन् गुरुन् वन्दे नित्यानन्दं तमाश्रयेत्। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Thank you for. So we are reading from Canto 5, Chapter 8, text 21 to 23. I will complete all 21, 22, 23 in one go. श्वेलिकायां मां मृषा समाधिना मिलित दृशं प्रेम संभ्रमेण चकित आगत्य पृषद अपरुष विषानाग्रेण लुठति। Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Alas, the small deer, while playing with me and seeing me feigning meditation with closed eyes, would circumambulate me due to anger arising from love, and it would fearfully touch me with the points of its horns, or with the points of its soft horns, which felt like drops of water. Now King Bharata considered his meditation false. While engaged in meditation, he was actually thinking of his deer, and he would feel great pleasure when the animal pricked him with the points of his horns. Feigning meditation, the king would actually think of the animal, and this was but a sign of his downfall. Next. आसादित हविषि बर्हिषि दूषिते मयोपालब्धो भीत भीत सपद्युपरत रास ऋषि कुमारवद अवहित कर्ण कलाप आस्ते. Translation. When I placed all the sacrificial ingredients on the kusha grass, the deer when playing would touch the grass with its teeth and thus pollute it. When I chastised the deer by pushing it away, it would immediately become fearful and sit down motionless, exactly like the son of a saintly person. Thus, it would stop its play. Bharat Maharaj was constantly thinking of the activities of the deer forgetting that such meditation and diversion of attention was killing his progress in spiritual achievement. Text 23. किं वा अरे आचरितं तपस्तपस्विन्यान्या यद् यम् अवनिः सविनय कृष्णसार तनय तनुतर सुभग शिवतमाखर खुरपद पंक्तिभिर्द्रविण विदुरातुरस्य कर्पणस्य मम द्रविण पदवीं सूचयन्त्यात्मानं च सर्वत कृतकौतुकं द्विजानां स्वर्गापवर्ग कामानां देवयजनं करोति. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. After speaking like a madman in this way, Bharat Maharaj got up and went outside. Seeing the footprints of the deer on the ground, he praised the footprints out of love, saying, "Oh, unfortunate Bharata, your austerities and penances are very insignificant compared to the penance and austerity undergone by this earth planet. Due to the earth's severe penances, the footprints of this deer, which are small, beautiful, most auspicious, and soft, are imprinted on the surface of this fortunate planet. This series of footprints show a person like me, who am bereaved due to the loss of the deer, how the animal has passed through the forest and how I can regain my lost wealth. By these footprints, this land has become a proper place for Brahmanas who desire heavenly planets or liberation to execute sacrifice to the demigods." Purport. It is said that when a person becomes overly involved in loving affairs, he forgets himself as well as others, and he forgets how to act and how to speak. It is said that once, when a man's son was blind since birth, the father, out of staunch affection for the child, named him Padmalochana, or lotus-eyed. This is a situation arising from blind love. Bharat Maharaj gradually fell into this condition due to his material love for the deer. It is said in the Smriti Shastra, "Yasmin deshe mrigha krishnas tasmin dharman ibodata." The tract of land wherein the footprints of a black deer can be seen is to be understood as a suitable place to execute religious rituals. That's it. So in this uh, episode, I seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas assembled here. Hare Krishna. So in this episode of Bharat Maharaj's so-called fall down, very interesting how he's become like a madman. Prabhupada mentions that, he was speaking madly. So he was feigning meditation. He was closing his eyes, but he was very eager for the touch of the deer, for the reciprocation of the deer, where the deer was. Is it around me or has it moved to the side? Is it, I don't see it coming. But when it comes, then, he's very eager that it is touching him. And, but he's faking meditation. And he was encouraging also. So he had completely lost, all his spiritual practices because he was very eager. He was overwhelmed by affection and love for an animal. And that was his situation. So he did not feel any kind of remorse for, failing in his meditation. Although he was feigning, but he was not having any remorse. So he had completely lost all the, spiritual practices that he was performing earlier. And then and whatever paraphernalia that he had accumulated for the worship of the Supreme Lord, like barhishi is nothing but kusha grass. So when he had accumulated all of that, and when an animal touches it, like a dog or a deer or anything, it becomes impure, because it is touching it by its mouth or tongue. It becomes impure. It cannot be offered as worship to the Lord. But he shows no remorse, no sign of any kind of remorse or becoming upset that an animal has spoiled his worship, and he just out of formality, he is just simply trying to push the deer away. But in reality, he was, out of love, he was only imitating that, he was hating, what the deer was doing, but actually he was loving it. And then, the deer would suddenly become motionless, fearful, and then it'll sit. And he's calling it as just like just like a son of a saintly person. That means he considered himself saintly and the deer as his son. So he was, taking care of the deer like a son. That was the kind of, affection he had. It was avirudha. It was very deep rooted. So he was thoroughly enjoying the company of the deer. So that was the situation of uh, Bharat Maharaj. And then finally, in the third verse, Prabhupada clearly mentions that when somebody becomes mad, then he does not know what he is talking. He is seeing the footprints on the ground and is glorifying Mother Earth, saying that you have got that footprints. You are so fortunate. Your penance and austerity is great. I am unfortunate. Although I have performed austerities and penances, I don't have that fortune of the footprints of, you know, this deer who's like my son. I wanted him to be with me, but he's gone away somewhere. So I've lost the wealth. So that way, even before that, the final moment where he's searching for the deer and then he falls and then he passes away, before that itself, you can see his consciousness that he's saying that, I've lost my great wealth. So at every moment, if he's unable to see the deer, if it has gone away into the forest, he's feeling that, he's lost it. So he was very desperate. So there was no question of attention at all on his spiritual practices. So that was the situation of Bharat Maharaj. So this is, I can relate this to myself. I can speak for myself. How, you know, we experience inattention even in the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So, this I was speaking about the last time, when I had the session, I was speaking about the anarthas, where some of the symptoms of anarthas, the symptoms of a person who has anarthas, they are like five symptoms. That is laya, vikshepa, apratipatti, then the fourth one is kashaya, and the fifth is rasaswada. So these are the five symptoms of a person who has anarthas. Now, very interestingly, uh, how is that, Bharat Maharaj, who was in the Bhava Bhakti, who had surpassed, Samanya Bhakti and Sadhana Bhakti, and who was there in the Bhava Bhakti, just a step closer to Prema, how could he have developed these symptoms of anarthas? Because these symptoms of anarthas, gross symptoms of anarthas of inattention, is there during anartha nivritti stage. So anartha nivritti stage has gross symptoms, but there are anarthas in the other stages later on, but they are subtle. But this inattention is a gross anartha. So how is that, from bhava bhakti he came all the way down to anartha nivritti? So that's very interesting. Somebody had asked me last session, someone in the end, they asked me, was was this situation of Bharat Maharaj fall down because of aparad, or was it because of uh, what do you call, or the will of the Supreme Lord? Then I had mentioned that, some acharyas, some Vaishnavas, they mention it is because of the aparad, and some mention it is the will of the Supreme Lord. It is a combination of both. But this time I have made some thorough research and I have come, and I will share, what was the actual reason. So it will be very interesting to know, to find out, what is the actual reason, why Bharat Maharaj had to go through this. So we will understand this. So I hope I am able to, you're all able to see the screen. So this is the some of the texts, this is the Anucheda of Jiva Goswami on Bhakti Sandarbha, in which Jiva Goswami illustrates an example how an offense can make one absorbed in objects other than Bhagavan and make the person give up the practice of bhakti. So, there is one specific text in Bhakti Sandarbha where it mentions that the Sanskrit mentions that the situation Bharat Maharaj was in happened because of some past strong karma. But Jiva Goswami, he actually comments with Anucheda. Anucheda is nothing but purports to the original texts of Bhakti Sandarbha. So he comments that karma has no power to overshadow bhakti because bhakti is transcendental and insignificant karma has no effect because karma and sinful activities and pious activities are actually completely destroyed in the stage of nishtha. There is no reactions of it. It is only the, some very subtle anarthas and aparads which are carried on in the other stages. So karma has no power to overshadow bhakti. What happened to the king was the effect of some past offense. The text says that it was because of some past offense. The offense overshadowed the bhakti, and king became fully absorbed in the deer because became a deer because he lost his life and then he became a deer and he could not practice bhakti and had to take another body as Jadabharat. An example of such an offense is found in the history of King Indradyumna. King Indradyumna offended sage Agastya, and as a result, he was born as an elephant. As an elephant, he forgot about bhakti and became absorbed in material pleasures. So we see this similarity of how Bharat Maharaj and King Indradyumna also went through the same thing. The implied message is that if one is losing interest in bhakti and becoming attracted to material objects, relations, power, or position, then one must know for sure it is an outcome of some past or present offense or both. It's very clear. If we are losing, and I mentioned about the symptoms of anartha nivriti, where there is this apratipatti. Apratipatti means you have all the time in the world, you have all the money in the world, you have everything for your own maintenance, but you don't have any taste for hearing or chanting. That is nothing but losing interest in taste in bhakti. So this is nothing but it is a symptom of offense of the past or maybe in the present offense. Then here one may raise a doubt. What did Bharata do wrong? Was it not proper of him to show compassion to a drowning baby deer? No, the act of saving and taking care of that baby deer was not wrong. But to become completely absorbed in it was a mistake. Bharat thought of himself as the savior and unique protector of the deer, forgetting that ultimate savior is Bhagavan and that he was just an instrument. Thus, the defect was considering himself as merciful, independent of Bhagavan. So there is nothing wrong actually. Bharat Maharaj could have just shown his compassion. He could have saved it and he could have let it go. But he didn't do that. He became a complete protector and savior of the deer. He thought, without me, the deer cannot survive. That was a problem. So that means considering oneself as a merciful independent of Bhagwan. So that was a problem. This is nothing but it's a text given by Jiva Goswami in his Anucheda. This is only translated in English. So that way, here in this specific text, I don't remember the text number. I missed it. I forgot to put it here. Jiva Goswami himself says that, it is because of some past offense. Then interestingly, in this specific Anucheda, he mentions that, it is Bhagavan who creates obstacles for his devotees to increase his bhakti. So Jiva Goswami is not satisfied with the explanation given in the previous Anucheda. Bharata was actually situated on a very high platform of bhakti. Hmm. In the text in Bhagavatam 5:8-12, it is described that he was even manifesting symptoms of love while engaged in bhakti. So I remember last time we had discussed how he was showing all the Ashtasatvik Vikar. So he had all the symptoms of love. So he was, on the periphery of Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. So he had those symptoms of love. So he was on a very advanced stage. So it is very hard to believe that some past offense could overpower his bhakti, because he had almost overcome everything. 99.99% he had overcome everything. Even though if there is influence of some aparad from the past, it would not make a person fall down from that stage. It may just block him for some more time, but it may not make a person fall from that level all the way till inattention, which is gross anartha nivritti, and all, and furthermore getting into the body of a deer. That is too much. So that is why Jiva Goswami is saying that it is very hard to believe that some past offense could overpower his bhakti so much so that he is experiencing inattention, and then he falls down into the body of a deer. So moreover, it is said earlier that as long as one has offenses, one cannot manifest such symptoms. So without offenses, one can manifest this Ashta Sattvic Vikar. So Bharat Maharaj indeed was not having any offenses. Therefore, Jiva Goswami says that it was Bhagwan's will, it was the desire of the Lord that Bharata become attached to a deer. In other words, it was Bhagavan who attracted the mind of Bharata in the form of a deer. What else could attract his mind? He did it in order to increase Bharata's hankering for him. So this is the explanation given by Jiva Goswami. So very interestingly, uh, he gives the reason of offense first, and then later on he concludes the reason as the supreme will of the Lord. It's a combination of both, but he concludes it with the supreme will of the Lord. So that is how we can take it. Another example of this is seen in the past life of Narada Muni also. Although he had attained the stage of Rati, or love for God, Bhagavan, Rati is the initial stage of prema. Like you have Rati, Sneha, Prana, Pranaya, Mana, Pranaya, Raga, Anuraga, Mahabhav, all that. So, although Narad Muni was, able to experience, the Supreme Lord, Para Ishanubhava, that is, he was able to experience the Supreme Lord in the form of his voice. Still, he could not. So the Lord had to tell him that, you are not yet ready. The Lord tells Narada Muni that Avipakva kashayanam durdarshoham kuyoginam. Hantasmin janmani bhavan namam drashtum iharhati. Avipakva kashayanam durdarshoham kuyoginam. He is saying, Hantasmi, oh my dear son. Janmani bhavan. Mamam drashtumi harhati. You have no arhati of my darshan. Why? Avipakva kashayana. You are avipakva. You are not mature yet. You are immature. Hmm? Kashayanam. You still have material traces. Durdarshoham kuyogina. I am not easily available for somebody who is a kuyogi. That is how the Lord responds to Narada Muni. But Jiva Goswami gives the example that no, actually, Bhagavan, the Lord, preserved a trace of material desire in him to magnify his efforts to attain him. So he wanted to intensify. We see the same thing even among the gopis also. The Lord says that I separated from you, I disappeared from you because I wanted to intensify your love for me. So that, we endeavor more harder and harder and harder to attain the lotus feet of the Lord. So the Lord is not so easily available. He is not easily approachable. Then there is the example of Parikshit also, where Jiva Goswami says that the Lord covers the knowledge sometimes, and Parikshit, he put a dead snake on the shoulder of Shamik Rishi. So he was cursed to pass away. And then for 7 days he went without eating and drinking. And the same king who became angry at the meditating sage because he could not get water was easily able to go through without drinking anything for 7 days. Now, how is it possible? Because in this Bhagavatam 1:18-29, there is a word which is used for his um thirst. It is called as Abhuta Purva. Abhuta Purva means never happened before. Unprecedented thirst which the king developed, which was intolerable. And because of that, he put a dead snake. And how is it that he so easily tolerated without thirst for 7 days? It was because of the will of the Supreme Lord. So it was the will of the Supreme Lord that Parikshit Maharaj acted like this. The point is, the Lord interferes in the lives of pure devotees. He wants to speed up the process so that they become very intense in their bhakti, and they take to his shelter and go back to the spiritual world. And although we hear, Jiva Goswami talking about aparadhas and the supreme will of the Lord, but very interestingly, Srila Prabhupada doesn't talk about these things in his purports. So that's, it's amazing how, in this entire episode of Bharat Maharaj, Prabhupada focuses on, very simple spiritual, philosophical understanding and truths. So, like, for example, I have certain purports, where, what Srila Prabhupada is speaking. He says Bharat Maharaj had to accept the body of a deer due to being overly compassionate for this infant deer. We should be compassionate by raising one from the material platform to the spiritual platform. Otherwise, at any moment, our spiritual advancement may be spoiled and we may fall down onto the material platform. So, the point is, one can show compassion, but the compassion has to be on the spiritual platform. Now, you cannot lift a deer to the spiritual platform. We can attempt to do that with a human being, but you can't do that with a deer. So you can show a little compassion, and you let go, and the Lord is the actual protector. Rakshashriti iti Vishwaso. So, but Bharat Maharaj became overly compassionate. So that was a problem. Instead of uplifting the deer to the spiritual platform, which was anyway not possible, he himself came down from the spiritual platform to the material platform because he wanted to give protection to the body of the deer. And deer is not the body, it is also a jivatma. So that was the cause of his fall down onto the material platform. Then, yeah. So, 589, Srila Prabhupada says, if one does not know of the material sufferings of fallen souls and becomes sympathetic because of bodily comforts, as in the case of Bharat Maharaj, such sympathy or compassion is the cause of one's downfall. As far as the deer was concerned, Bharat Maharaj became very sympathetic, but he forgot that it was impossible for him to elevate a deer to spiritual consciousness, because after all, a deer is but an animal. So that way he became very much concerned for the bodily comfort of the deer. He was worried, the deer will be attacked by other animals, it will be killed, it is very tiny, it is small, I have to protect it. I was a king. The duty of a king is to give protection to the praja. So he was in that mood. But he was no longer a king. He had given up his varnashrama dharma. He gave up his position as a kshatriya. Now he had taken to the renounced order of life. So, being in the renounced order of life, he had the mentality of a king to give protection to the praja. So, that was actually wrong. As the Bhagavad Gita says, Shreyo swadharma vigunaha paradharma swanushthitat swadharme nidhanam shreya paro dharma bhayavaha. It is dangerous to follow another's dharma. When you are in the renounced order, follow the principles of renounced order. Don't, follow the dharma of a Kshatriya. So, but he was in that mood of, giving protection to the deer because he felt that he was the only protector and savior. And in 5810, Srila Prabhupada says, the only benefit we can render to suffering souls is to try to raise them to spiritual consciousness. Material comforts cannot be increased or decreased. We should be very careful not to be misled by so-called welfare activities conducted in bodily terms. One should not give up his interest in attaining the favor of Lord Vishnu at any cost. Generally, people do not know this or they forget it. Consequentially, they sacrifice their original interest, the attainment of Vishnu's favor, and engage in philanthropic activities for bodily comfort. So, like that, um, he was on that platform of welfare activity, to provide comfort to the deer. So that is how the fall down of Bharat Maharaj happened. So we have to be very careful to understand that we cannot change the situation of the suffering beings. We can only uplift their consciousness. Okay, whatever is possible, it is possible. We can, attempt to help them mitigate the suffering to some extent. But we cannot become overly concerned and conscious about completely mitigating their suffering. No, that is not possible because each jiva carries his own karma. So we should not interfere with it. So, as out of compassion, yes, to some extent you can help, but our main goal should be to uplift their spiritual consciousness. So that becomes very important. And 5812, Srila Prabhupada says, even an exalted personality as Bharat Maharaj, who had attained loving affection for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, fell down from his position due to his affection for some animal. Since this was the case with Bharat Maharaj, what can we say of those who are not advanced in spiritual life but who become attached to cats and dogs? There's no doubt, 100%, the same thing will happen with them. So that is the point. So Srila Prabhupada is cautioning that if this is a situation with a Mahabhagavat like Bharat Maharaj, who are we? So that was the point. And also we, in relationship to this 589 purport, uh, we see, false compassion also under illusion is shown by certain people in the West, where they have pets like cats and dogs, but when it comes to eating habits, they don't care for mother cow. They want to have beef, they want to have steak, but when it comes to cat and dog, they seem to be overly compassionate, overly caring, and they're very concerned if their cat is lost or if their dog is lost. They want to put a poster, all around the streets, wherever they have lost their animal, and they're very concerned. So they have so much of so-called false compassion under the illusion of Maya. They never show that kind of a compassion for cow or any other animal which they are eating on their plate. So that is how that is also an illusion where of course that never falls under this category where Bharat Maharaj is at least showing compassion on the bodily comfort of this animal, but that is not the case with so-called atheistic demoniac population of the West, where they show false compassion for certain animals and no compassion, zero compassion for certain other animals. Okay. Then I'm just comparing how Prabhupada is talking about what do you call Bharat Maharaj uh, fall down reasons as compared to what Jiva Goswami and others have told. So Srila Prabhupada didn't really, he focused on very simple explanations. So Bharat Maharaj left his home, wife, children, kingdom, everything else to advance in spiritual life. But again, he fell victim to material affection due to his attachment to an insignificant pet deer. What then was the use of his renouncing his family? One who is serious in advancing his spiritual life should be very cautious not to become attached to anything but Krishna. So one has to be very careful. Kshurasya dhara nishit duratyaya durgam patastat kavayo vadanti. So practice of spiritual life is not very easy going, Just chant your 16 rounds, look here and there, see the phone or see the something and then, no, that is not the way, that way, we can never progress. Here, because of inattention of, bhakti, Bharat Maharaj had to get the body of a deer. So we can imagine what will be our position when we are inattentive. So definitely, we may also attain the same kind of a destination. So it is very, very dangerous. Huh? Shurasya dhara. It is like the edge of a sword. It is like walking on the edge of the sword. Durgam patastat kavayo vadanti. It is a very, very difficult path. So Prabhupada cautions us that one has to be careful. 5814. Because this attraction for the deer was so intense, Bharat Maharaj could not concentrate upon worshipping the Lord or performing his ritualistic ceremonies. Even though he was engaged in worshipping the deity, his mind was restless due to his inordinate affection. Sometimes this happens with us, and I would not say sometimes, most of the times this happens with us, that if our mind is disturbed or something is, troubling us, or someone is troubling us, or we are attached to some material things, the same thing keeps coming to our mind again and again when we are practicing, when we are chanting, or when we are trying to perform devotional, deity worship, or whatever it may be, any anga of a devotional service. It is because of our attachment of our mind either to happiness or distress of this world, which causes us to become restless. And then we are not able to focus on bhakti. 5815. If a poor man loses some money or gold, he at once becomes very agitated. Similarly, the mind of Bharat Maharaj would become agitated when he did not see the deer. So that was explained in the purport. We saw, how he became so mad. He was saying, I'm not able to see the deer. I'm not, it has gone into the forest and I have lost my wealth. That is how he was speaking. So Bharat Maharaj became agitated, as if he lost gold. So this is an example of how our attachment can be transferred. If our attachment is transferred to the Lord's service, we progress. 5817. Bharat Maharaj could think only of the deer and how the animal could be protected from all kinds of auspicious things. From the materialistic point of view, such kind thoughts may be very laudable. But from the spiritual point of view, the king was actually falling from his exalted spiritual position and unnecessarily becoming attached to an animal. Thus, degrading himself, he would have to accept an animal body. So, giving protection, giving raksha is so much appreciated in this world. Materialistic people, if you're able to donate blood, or if you're able to donate your organs to somebody else, the person who is getting it may be a sinful guy also, it does not matter. But you are very much appreciated, very laudable, and everybody appreciates. You may get a certificate. So many things can happen in this world. But from a Shastric point of view, also we have to approach and see whether what we are doing is right or wrong. So from the spiritual point of view, what the king was doing was actually he was creating his own fall down and nothing else. Because by becoming, overly concerned for protection of an animal, he was degrading himself and he would eventually enter into the body of an animal. And this lecture of Srila Prabhupada in 1969 says that Bilva Mangal Thakur was in his previous life elevated to almost Prema Bhakti, just like Bharat Maharaj, highest platform of devotional service. But there is always chance of fall down. So somehow or other he fell down, and next life he was born in a very rich family and associated with prostitute. This is the situation of Bilva Mangal Thakur. So we can imagine, where we are standing. So that way, I have some more, notes. There are 230 slides, but obviously, don't worry, I'm not going to take you all through this. I'm not going to cause distress to your happiness. Maybe I'll cover 10 or 12 slides from this and then we'll close for today. So this was from the Vaishnavananda seminar which we had attended in in ICC some time back. So I thought we can go through this and understand uh, how this is applicable in our life. What Jiva Goswami spoke about the aparadhas which actually block us is very much true. But in case of pure devotees like Bharat Maharaj, yes, the Lord interferes and then, he is the one who, out of his supreme will, causes his attraction. But in our case, it is not so. In our case, our problem, our fall down is only because of the aparadhas. So principally, this sadhu ninda is the main reason why we experience laya, vikshepa, and apratipatti. That is sleep, laziness, inattention, and also losing of taste in spiritual activities. It's mostly because of sadhu ninda. So I'll just cover few slides and then we will close. Mm. An offense to a pure devotee is called as Vaishnava Parad. We all know it is called as the Hatimata. A discharge of devotional service, an offense to the feet. In the discharge, if there is an offense, it completely stops our advancement. Bhakti is never destroyed. Hmm? And it is said that bhakti only stops. We will have no access. The treasure of bhakti is locked into a locker and we have lost the key. The wealth is not lost, but we have no access to the wealth also. And to get access to that wealth can take many millions of lifetimes, or it can take a few lifetimes, or it can take a few years, or it can even take a few moments. It depends on the attitude of the practitioner. But bhakti is not completely destroyed, where one has to start again from ABCD. That will never happen. Thus, one has to defend the plant of bhakti by fencing it. Okay. So we will hear what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, speaks about the offenses. He says, don't criticize devotees or non-devotees. Very important. It should not be that, I can scold anybody else who is not a devotee or abuse or offend anyone who is not a devotee. No. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, one should not offend devotees or non-devotees. He categorizes both. Definitely so with devotees. Nobody denies that because we are all very much aware. But some are not convinced when it comes to non-devotees. So Bhaktisiddhanta is clarifying that yes, nobody can criticize non-devotees also. In fact, even in Bhagavatam also, so many places the Lord is speaking in the Bhagavatam. Dayaya sarva bhuteshu santushthyayena kinava. So he's saying Dayaya sarva bhuteshu. There is titikshaya, karunaya, maitriya cha akhila jantushu. Samatvena cha sarvatma Bhagavan samprasidati. How the Lord becomes satisfied. Uh, Titikshaya, karunaya, maitriya cha akhila jantushu. One should be tolerant of all the jivas. One should show compassion to all the jivas, and Maitreya, one should be very friendly with all the jivas. Then the Lord becomes completely satisfied. Titikshavaha karunikaha suhrida sarvadehinam. So one should be very friendly with all the jivas. Ajata Shatru Shanta Sadhava Sadhu Bhushana. These are the ornaments of a sadhu. So there are like that, there are several hundreds of references where um, in the Bhagavatam, it says that one cannot offend a non-devotee. That comes under Jiva Prad or Jiva Himsa. So that is also detrimental to spiritual life. Not that only offenses to Vaishnavas is detrimental, but offenses to any Jiva is detrimental to bhakti. First, look at your own condition and try to purify yourself. So before we point impurity of others, one should look at one's own condition. Is there any lust in you? Lust means material desires or any other impurity. So we need to check that. Is there any kutinati in you or not? Is there any deceitful behavior? or hypocritical behavior, doing something, but, showing something else. So that is Kutinati or backstabbing. So do we have that or not? Be worried for that. Don't worry for others. Don't worry who is making mistakes, who is wrong, who is right, and how one should correct himself. No, no, no. You worry for yourself. This is what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says. Sri Guru and Lord Krishna are responsible for others. You cannot do anything to help them, so you have no right to criticize. If you are not able to do any kind of help to improve them, or you have no authority or arhati or adhikar to help somebody or to inspire somebody to correct himself, then we have no right to criticize at all. We have to keep our mouth shut. Then I should not apply to myself to find out the shortcomings of the Vaishnavas or to condemn the service of Vaishnava. Oh, sorry, service of Vishnu. Like even the two examples of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, finding fault with the service of Lord Vishnu in the pandas of Jagannath Puri. You simply picked up. He was simply beaten up by their lordships. Of course, that was a Leela. They have eternal relationship, but there is a principle which was, enunciated there. That was about how one cannot interfere with somebody's, way of rendering service to Vishnu, which is out of his love. Then also we have example of Ramanujacharya, who was, upset with the way, the Pandas were worshipping Jagannath. So the Lord had to put him outside the Puri Kshetra. So like that, we have no right to even condemn the way, service is rendered to Lord Vishnu or seek to establish my own viewpoint by neglecting the method by which I may be enabled to serve the Lord or his devotees. So there is a standard procedure, this is how you have to do. The institution has given us, we have to worship like this, you have to do deity worship like this or chant like this. So don't try to find fault with that and establish our own viewpoint. No, 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 they are all wrong. This is how you have to do. We should not be doing that. That also comes under offense. No language can describe the havoc that is brought in human by such arrogance. Yeah. Why should a person be anxious to pry into the defects of others when he does not seek to scrutinize his own conduct? Is this the disposition of a Vaishnava? It is not. Then we have come here to reform ourselves, not to reform others. If we want to protest, then it is better to protest against our own wrongdoings. If we want to discipline someone, let that someone be we. Let us reform ourselves. If we wish to pick faults, let us pick our own faults. Then after that, there are so many other things. I don't want to go into it because this is all about how Bhagavan Kapila is telling, Mother Devahuti, how he, uh, you know, completely rejects those who offend other jivas. He says, Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatmavastita sada tam avagyaya mamartya kurutarcha vidambanam. So their worship of deity worship is simply a sham because they don't know how to respect all the jivas in whom, I am situated. So they are unable to see me. Then there is how a person who neglects me and worships the deity is simply making oblations into ashes. It is like bhasmanneva juhoti saha. So he is offering, ghee in smoke. That's it, and nothing else. So that is the result of performing deity worship or any yagya like Sankirtana yagya is we are offering oblations in ashes when we are offending others. So there's no point, there's no value, there's no result of practicing bhakti. And then anybody who is envious, dvishataha, parakaye, one who is envious of another's body, but mam manino, he has a lot of respect for me. He is bhinna darshinaha. He does not know. He is seeing others as different and me as different. So bhuteshu baddhavairasya. He is he's considering, what do you call, he's considering others as, you know, uh, uh, whom we can punish, vairi, as an enemy. So baddha vairasya. Na mana shantim rachit. He can never attain peace. So there are many such examples how the Lord is not pleased with that person who's offering all kinds of paraphernalia, but who does not know how to respect others. Then this goes on and on. 230 slides, we can do it for 1 month also. But the point is, I just wanted to communicate the point that yes, bhakti is not so easy and it is difficult. And that is the situation of Bharat Maharaj or Narad Muni or Parikshit Maharaj or Indradyumna. So we also have to be careful when great devotees would enter into bodies of elephant and deer. So we are also, easily and equally succumbing to such a situation when we are not careful in our bhakti. I'd like to stop here. Thank you very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody has any comments, corrections, please feel free to ask.
Hare Krishna, Ashoka Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Ashoka Prabhu, sorry. Prabhuji, I think this was a very wonderful class. I think you brought out so many aspects. So I was just thinking, where should I begin or to even summarize? I'm just trying to make an attempt at that. But I think you brought out the nuances of the aspect of fall down of Bharat Maharaj so nicely. And what is it in the deeper, because at the outset how it is looking, and then drill down deeper, then how it is viewed, and then the viewpoints of the acharyas, and brought out the aspect of the anucheda of from Jiva Goswami, which explained everything to the point of how it is the will of the Lord for a pure devotee, and then how the Lord is showing the others, or the puppets, in sequence, the way you discussed and then brought out that aspect of how it is coming out so clearly, with respect to how one might mislead oneself into concluding something which may not be the actual truth, in terms of karma, and because of his past karma, or because of Vaishnava Parad, but then it is beyond all of that for a pure devotee. So the takeaway was that how one should not be judgmental. That's the learning of the lesson for us. And then so nicely you again connected it to the Vaishnava Parad, which is a very important topic for all practicing Vaishnavas, because bhakti being purifying, if at all anything can happen, it has to be because of Vaishnava Parad. And then those slides that cover the Vaishnava Parads were very endearing to all of us, because I mean, of how Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was saying that one will have to look at oneself and not at others. So, two big takeaways. One is not being judgmental about others or any situation or anything it be. And
Right.
secondly, look inward and then try to correct ourselves rather than trying to find fault at others. So that's the thing. And then so much of clarity you brought about in the whole story of Bharat Maharaj. So it was like a well prepared, well cooked, ready to eat delicacy that you gave it to us with all the ingredients taken from everywhere. So
Hare
thank you so
Krishna.
much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
So
Thanks to you, Prabhuji.
yeah, you made the job so much easier for us. We just had to listen and then remember. That's all. So thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
So
Prabhuji.
please, any questions, any comments, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, and Pranam, thank you for wonderful class. So
Hare
you talked
Krishna.
about people being compassionate in other countries. Okay, so people who have pets at home, they are compassionate towards their own pets, but they are not compassionate towards other animals where they kill those or they eat those animals.
Correct.
The
Yeah.
view of the view of that is there some message which we can give to certain people like those. We can see our relatives as well. They have pets at their home. They might have an aquarium and they'll have that, but they'll themselves be eating the fish. That kind of a situation. What advice or something indirectly or directly, there something which we can convey to in such situations?
Um, I don't know because generally we follow the ninth principle where somebody shows some shraddha, we can educate them, we can preach to them. But if any of our acquaintances are not favorable, not inclined towards hearing, anything from Vedic scriptures or explaining them would be futile. But yes, we can attempt to see, how do they react. We can explain the same thing that I explained, how it is a false compassion. So it is completely false compassion, which is under illusion, thinking that, I am protecting and I love and I care, I have affection. But no, it is not real because you don't care when it comes to your tongue. You don't care to decorate your house with aquarium because you want to show that, sorry, when I'm saying you, I'm not talking you. I'm saying the person, whoever is, eager to have an aquarium. That person wants to show that, his house is beautiful, or he has colorful things, or it is more of selfishness. So, but it doesn't care. Most of the fishes they die in aquarium. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But I know that most of the fishes they die in aquarium. Obviously, where else they will go? It is not that they are going to, go drop them in some river, lake, pond, or anywhere. So eventually, they are actually killing them. They're removing them from their natural habitat, and then they're killing. Just they want to decorate their house with that. They think that they are taking care of the fishes. They are not taking care of the fishes. They are decorating their houses. The same thing with the animals because they feel lonely and they are frustrated. They want to have cats and dogs because cats and dogs can easily be controlled because they are pet animals, they are domestic animals. So they can easily control them. So they fake having compassion on them. But in reality, they don't have. It is under illusion only because they don't care for cow, chicken, or any other animal because they want to eat them. Because it finally comes to selfishness where they are more interested in their tongue. That's it. So this has to be told. You know, Srila Prabhupada would say that Satyam Bruyat, Priyam Bruyat, Ma Bruyat, Satyam Apriyam. Truth has to be told very sweetly and it should not be unpalatable. But that is only in case of material truth. But when it comes to spiritual truth, it has to be told bluntly. That is not that verse is not applicable to spiritual truth. So you have to tell them bluntly only. If they accept it, very good. If they're real, well-wisher of yours, they will accept it. And also, if you have adhikar on them, then you can tell. If you don't have adhikar on them, then they will become against you, against the institution, against everybody. They will not want to see your face. So, adhikar means, you can tell this to somebody who is your junior or your relative who is your cousin or somebody who is very loving to you, who is very close to you. We have adhikar to speak blunt spiritual truth to them. But we can't do the same with somebody who is a distant relative or somebody who is very distant, someone in the office. No, we have no adhikar on them. They have all the freedom. Yes, you can tell them only if they show shraddha. That you have to gauge over a period of few days when okay, this person has some shraddha in, Vedic culture, then, slowly you should attempt. And then you can tell them the reality. People who are genuine, they will understand it, they will accept it, they will try to, change. But generally, it doesn't happen. So, yeah, I hope it helps, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you so much, Roji. It was an elaborate answer. Thank you so much. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Darat Pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice class, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to share the message about this aquarium, Prabhu.
Yeah.
I want to share my this experience.
Yes, Mother.
Yeah, before coming to Krishna conscious, children wanted to keep the aquarium at home. Because of their interest, we kept the aquarium for 4-5 months, Prabhu. Yeah, but regularly fishes were dying. Many we changed. Then children understood it's not for us. Yeah, because the compassion. Yeah, why you have to making die as a living being? Then
Right.
they told, please remove this aquarium itself.
Wonderful.
Then we give it to my driver itself.
Okay.
Then yeah, he is keeping well, but it
Oh,
is not for us. Then now also they are telling. Sometimes they tell no. See,
yeah.
Krishna removes all these things, whatever we are not needed. He only removes from this
Right.
house like that.
All right.
So,
Good. Very nice example, Mataji. Only thing is, not to find fault, but instead of giving it to the driver, we could have, just dumped that, glass aquarium somewhere in, some
yeah,
lake.
that time we have no knowledge, no Prabhu.
Yeah. Right.
Because of that, we
True.
did that. Yeah.
But yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much. It was a very nice example.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Prabhu also the comments.
Hare
I will
Krishna.
try to read the comments here. Uttara Mataji has said Hare Krishna Guru, Dhanus Pranam for enlightening class. Thank you, Guru. Saraswati Mataji has said Hari Bol, Dhanvat Pranams, Guruji. Thanks for the wonderful teachings. Wish you can continue the rest of the slides in another class. It will take a long time to realize what we heard today. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
And yes,
Thank
Sevaya Prabhu said, Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you. Shailaja Mataji is saying Hare Krishna, thank you, Guruji. So, Ashoka Prabhu, thank you so much. It was
Thank
very
you.
nice, very endearing. We didn't know how time flew. And so much of learning, so much to think on, dwell on, and then discuss further and implement. So, thank you so much. We
Thank
can
you.
conclude with Vaishnav Pranams as there are no more questions.
Sure.
Vancha
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो
कोटि
नमः
वैष्णववृन्द
अनंत अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय
जय
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय
जय
भरत महाराज की जय
जय हरे
Thank you,
कृष्ण
Prabhu. Thank you, devotees, for your time. So I'll end the session for everyone now. Hare Krishna. We'll all meet up tomorrow.